We're going to be talking about your April forecast for 2025, and this April could be one of the warmest and also one of the most active Aprils we have seen in quite some time. We're going to be going over the latest forecast for you, also week by week here through April. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, follow along with all my detailed, accurate, and reliable weather information on YouTube, and share this video with as many people as you can, friends, family, and on social media. I definitely appreciate it. What you're looking at is the height anomaly, just averaging out 30 days of April here. And notice the more aggressive anomalies where we see the brighter oranges are across portions of Southern California, Arizona, Southern New Mexico, and West Texas. That's where we have the focus of high pressure. That's where we have the warmest conditions likely for April. Now, notice up there toward the Pacific Northwest, we see more lighter oranges and whites. That's for British Columbia, Alberta, Washington State, Northern Idaho, and northwestern Montana. That's where we have lower pressure and more active weather. So let's look here at the official April temperature outlook for, again, this is an average of all 30 days of the month, and it looks to average out warmer across portions of the Four Corners region, which is the desert southwest, into Texas there. That's where we have ongoing drought, and the drought is actually going to be feeding back into our temperatures. Drier ground heats up a lot faster than a wetter ground does, so that's why we're seeing that 30-day average much warmer. Now, across the Pacific Northwest, with wetter conditions expected, likely we're going to see more of those blues or even whites showing up. So that means normal to slightly below normal temperatures for the outlook, again, the 30-day average, and that will stretch further east into parts of the upper Midwest like Iowa, into Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan, as well as parts of the Northeast there as well. Looking at precipitation, there's a reason for that, is because we have a lot of active weather further to the north. The most active weather for the month of April, again, 30-day average here, is around the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and the Northeast. Parts of the high plains, especially the northern high plains toward the Pacific Northwest, also trending normal to above normal with precipitation, and then trending drier than normal for the desert Southwest, along the Gulf Coast, and into the Southeast. This does include Texas, and it does include Florida as well through the month of April. So now let's go week by week and talk about what you can expect on a weekly basis through April. Notice this is the height anomaly map. This is going to show you where the high pressure is in red, low pressure is in blue. So you have higher pressure further east across the eastern seaboard for the first 7 days of April, which will promote warmer temperatures. And then we have cooler temperatures with more active weather trough coming in across the west coast, but especially the Pacific Northwest during that first 7 days of April. So what this high pressure will do is promote warmer temperatures. We have the feedback from the drought across portions of the Four Corners, giving us warmer temperatures there. But the warmest air will be across West Texas, all the way along the Gulf Coast states up toward the Mid-Atlantic for the first 7 days of the month. And then we have colder conditions, at least compared to normal, across the West and the Pacific Northwest, especially for Washington State, Oregon, Northern California, parts of Nevada, and Western Idaho there. And when we look at the precipitation, it's going to be a very active first 7 days of April, looking at a lot of precipitation across the West Coast, the northern tier, and also portions of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and the Northeast, with a lot of those brighter greens on there. And then we have drier conditions underneath where that high pressure resides. So the drought is going to continue to feed back here with drier conditions in the Four Corners region, West Texas especially, but along parts of the Gulf Coast and including Florida, we could have some hints of some drier weather there during the first 7 days of April. Now, moving from April 1st through the 7th, now from April 7th through the 14th, this is the second week of the month. We notice that high pressure really becoming aggressive from Texas eastward through the Tennessee Valley. Lower pressure where we have the lighter oranges across the Pacific Northwest and the northern tier of the United States. As far as our temperatures are concerned, not much change from the first week into the second week, although we are seeing a little bit of some cooler air pushing more inland here during the second week, more into Wyoming, Montana, into Utah now, but we still see those drought feedback with the warmer air across the Four Corners region into Texas, along the Gulf Coast, and up into the southeast and the eastern seaboard. And then looking at precipitation, the precipitation shifts a little bit further to the north. So we see more active weather for the Midwest, into the Ohio Valley, maybe the far northern high plains like the Dakotas and the Black Hills regions up there. Drier conditions trending out west. west, especially for Northern California into Oregon, and then down where the drought is across the Four Corners region, and then along the Gulf Coast, maybe watching for a flash drought that could develop down there potentially into the second week of April. Then going into the third week of April, the 14th through the 21st, notice that high pressure that was in the east to start the month in the first week, then moved across the Gulf Coast in the second week, is retrograding further west. This is going to be anchored across the desert southwest and northern Mexico as we go into the third week. Between the 14th and the 21st, lower pressure more further to the east in the eastern U.S. So what this will do is promote cooler temperatures further east in the Ohio Valley and the mid-Atlantic parts of the Northeast, and a lot warmer conditions spiking over there toward the western United States during that third week of April. And what that'll do to our precipitation, again, nudge that active weather and active storm track a little bit further to the north. Areas of the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast will likely see normal to above normal precip here. Drier conditions again near the Gulf Coast, including Florida, back into the west, especially into the Pacific Northwest, where we started the month very active. We're going to get into the third week and start to dry out across Washington State, Oregon, and Idaho here. And now as we go into the last week of April, the 21st through the 30th, notice that high pressure really just kind of flexes its muscles across the entirety of the southern United States. And what this will do is actually bring warmer conditions across much of the southern and central tier of the United States, and actually bring it a little bit further north too, with a little bit leaning above normal with our temperatures for the upper Midwest, the Ohio Valley into the mid-Atlantic, with maybe a cooler spell across the Pacific Northwest or southwestern Canada. So we're talking British Columbia, Alberta to Saskatchewan, but into the U.S. states here of Montana, northern Idaho, Washington State, and Oregon will likely be a little bit near normal or slightly below normal with our temperatures during that last week of April, the 21st through the 30th. Active weather going to be from North Texas all the way up there toward Lake Erie and Lake Michigan. That could be the active track for some systems to come through with above normal precipitation. A little bit active up there toward the Dakotas and the Black Hills, stretching eastward into Minnesota, southern Canada too, and then drying out big time across Florida there again. I think drought will likely develop in Florida here this April as we go through the month. So looking now at the severe weather climatology here, the early part of April, we're going to be looking at the potential for severe weather building. This is climatology. Usually look for it down here toward the lower Mississippi River Valley, westward toward the southern plains. As we go into the middle of April, the climatology for severe weather shifts a little bit further north, including more of the Missouri Valley, the Tennessee Valley, and the lower Ohio River Valley. So we're talking more Missouri, downstate Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, those types of locations. Then as we go into late April, that shifts even further north and includes more areas like Iowa, Illinois, including northern Illinois, more of Indiana and Ohio, and even sometimes a little bit further north from there into southern Minnesota, southern Wisconsin, lower Michigan there, and into parts of Pennsylvania and West Virginia too. So something we'll have to watch out for climatology there in late April. Here is what I circled for an area that you need to watch, I think, with overlap this April for severe weather purposes. Areas highlighted in just the broad, cherry red color there. We have severe weather possible. The legend is at the bottom of your screen here. And I think those areas could include parts of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, southward through portions of the Mississippi Valley, all the way to the Gulf Coast. Big cities in the mix here: Lincoln, Nebraska, Des Moines, all the way over there toward Indianapolis, down towards Louisville and Lexington, Nashville, all the way south to New Orleans, Jackson, Mississippi, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Montgomery, and even Pensacola, Florida, keeping an eye on that. In the maroon red, that's where severe weather is likely, and probably the potential for a violent tornado outbreak sometime in the second half of April. We're talking April 15th onward across parts of the lower Midwest into the Ohio River Valley, areas like Louisville, Paducah, Kentucky, up there into Indianapolis, Peoria, Illinois, down to St. Louis, Kansas City, down to Springfield, Missouri, Little Rock, all the way over to Memphis and Nashville, even into portions there of Bowling Green, Kentucky, Cincinnati. Those areas need to be on high alert for the potential of a violent tornado outbreak later in the month there of April, likely the 15th onwards. So that is my April forecast. If you did enjoy it, make sure to give a like down below. Also subscribe to the channel with the latest accurate and reliable weather information on YouTube. We'll have another video forecast out for you tomorrow with the short and long-term discussion. precipitation, and we'll also be going through more of the April forecast as we get closer to it as well. So share this video, like it, and subscribe. Definitely appreciate it, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their evening out there.